Hi, right. I'm just recording a little sort of revision video, I guess. It talks you through how I would go about answering questions, the smaller questions, question 2, A, B, and C on paper 1 of your English language exam. So let's start with question 2A. I think the biggest advice I can give you in relation to this question is to be precise in terms of your response. What I mean by that is read the question really carefully and do exactly what it says. Okay, so first of all, it tells you to identify a word or phrase from the text. That means it needs to be a quotation. It can't be your own words, which suggests the same idea as the words underlined. Okay, so that's all you should be focusing on. The words that are underlined, nothing else in the sentence, and you shouldn't be including any sort of surplus information. Quite a few students in the recent mock exam were adding phrases from the text that sort of incorporated other elements of the quote. For example, moored in the harbour. There is no need to do that. Just focus on the words that are underlined. Do exactly what the task asks of you. Then moving on to 2B. Again, read the question really carefully. That really sort of good advice. This time you're using your own words, so it shouldn't be a quotation. And again, you're being told to look specifically at the words underlined. Okay. In your answers, be nice and concise and focused. You don't want big, long, rambling explanations, because as soon as you start doing that, there's a danger that you're adding in, again, too much surplus information, which may indicate to the examiner that you don't actually know precisely what the word underlined means. Use context. Read the words in context of the paragraph to help you work out their meaning. I've said be precise and don't add too much information, but make sure that you add enough. Quite a lot of people, for example, for this first one, strolling, put things like walking. Not quite enough information. It's clearly walking, casually or leisurely. I think the biggest advice I could give you in relation to 2B is not to provide more than one answer. So just one precise answer. What does the word strolling mean? Using your own words. Don't give 2 or 3 potential answers, because obviously that shows you don't really know what the answer is. It's a bit like in maths being asked what's 2 add 2 and putting 4, 5 or 6. You're not going to get a mark for it. Moving down to 2C. Read the question as always carefully. Highlight the key things. So it's one example. And what's the focus? The feelings about what he saw on the beach. Okay, so that's the only thing you should be addressing. Really focus on the task and only give one example. Quite a few people in the recent mock exam quoting 2 things or 3 things. You're potentially going to lose marks for that. My advice when it comes to choosing your example is to choose carefully and try and make it a technique or a method, an image or something that's got connotations or implications. It could be something that's auditory and you choose it because of some kind of phonetic effect. It could be hyperbolic. It could be a list. The important thing is that it's a technique or a method, because then you can explain the effect of that technique and method. Quite a few people went wrong in the mock because they chose an adjective like dreadful and depressing. And when you come to explain the effect of that, there's not much you can say other than define what those words mean, which means you're not going to pick up all 3 marks. You might pick up 2 for an attempted explanation, but you've made it harder than it needs to be. Choose a method, choose a technique. So there's always going to be some kind of image that you can zoom in on. Try and select that instead. And when it comes to writing up your response, make sure you have your first sentence is a good topic sentence explaining what the person felt when he saw the beach. So really focus on the question, what the answer really. Then move into your quote. Don't choose a really long quotation or one that's too short. I reckon about 4 or 5 words maybe is about perfect. And then once you've put the quote in after your topic sentence, then sort of start the next sentence with a little phrase that sort of shows the examiner that you're moving into an explanation of effect. So just the use of the list, or the use of hyperbole, or the use of the image, and then insert a lovely academic verb in, sort of analytical verb, sorry. So the use of the image suggests, implies, evokes, illustrates, reflects, creates, captures, and then go on to sort of finish off your explanation. And that really is that. There's not a huge amount to say about it. I've put down here just an example of a 2C response that basically does what I've suggested. Start off with a really nice, strong sort of what sentence, what does the writer do? He highlights feelings of disgust and pity. Then obviously there's a quote when he describes the beach, and it goes on to talk about the repetition. So there's the technique. The repetition of black emphasizes. So there's your academic verb. And then they go on to explain what it emphasizes in detail. So it really is quite formulaic and straightforward.